When floods submerged the St. Louis region back in 1993, we were told it was a once-in-a-lifetime event. Well, one man who has studied the Missouri River for more than 4 decades says an even bigger flood disaster could be looming. The reason took 5 on Your Side investigates up the Missouri River, all the way to Montana.
Glasgow, Montana, population 3,300, is best known for 2 things: peace and quiet. But not far away, holding back one of the biggest reservoirs in the world and sitting on the Missouri River, is the Fort Peck Dam. 21,000 feet long, 250 feet high, almost 80 years old and counting.
I believe it's the most hazardous dam in North America.
This doesn't look like that.
It looks like sort of a long hill.
Dr. Bernard Shanks is a former land and wildlife advisor to the governors of California and Arizona, and has been studying the dams on the Missouri River for more than 4 decades. And he says the problem starts with how Fort Peck Dam was built, which the Army Corps of Engineers describes this way.
The dam itself was constructed out of hydraulic fill, which was basically a slurry of mud and water pumped from both downstream and upstream of the dam location.
It's not a safe methodology to build dams.
Because, Shanks says, it makes them more likely to collapse, suddenly and catastrophically. In fact, it's something that happened during the dam's construction in 1938.
135 men were caught in it, 8 of them died.
And 6 were never found, their bodies lost in the walls of the dam, where they remain today.
It was a dramatic illustration of a fundamental weakness in this dam.
And that's why Dr. Shanks is raising the red flag, because if a dam this big were to fail, he says there would be deadly consequences downstream.
It would make the damage from 9/11 look like just a drive-by shooting.
Dr. Shanks says a Fort Peck failure could lead to a domino-like collapse of all 5 downstream dams on the way to St. Louis, beginning with Garrison and Owyhee.
Along the way, that much water would wash out probably dozens of bridges, railroad bridges, highways, pipelines.
That house is starting to go.
For many St. Louisans, when they think of floods, they think of 1993.
Would this be worse?
Oh, much worse. This would be the worst flood in American history.
After epic flooding in 2011, the Army Corps of Engineers proposed $225 million in repairs to the Fort Peck Dam. They only got about 1/5 of that.
Most of that was used to repair this spillway, which had to be opened in 2011 to ensure that water didn't overflow the dam.
You know, we're competing with all the other projects across the nation for funding. We take that funding and use it to the best of our ability and maximize that opportunity to do the repairs that are most critical.
But the Corps tells 5 on Your Side the flood event of 2011 gave them even more confidence in the Missouri River Dam system.
And the thing that struck us is that they operated as designed. We went through the flood well. There's no imminent risk, there's no imminent danger to any of the dams.
Dr. Shanks is not convinced. Besides the dam's aging infrastructure, he says how it was built makes it more likely to collapse from seismic tremors or an earthquake, perhaps caused by the oil and gas fracking activity happening just 2 hours away. That's why he says we must be vigilant.
Dick Cheney, when he was vice president, always said is there was a threat to Homeland Security, a 1% chance of a threat. We should address it. We should take care of it. And certainly in the long run, in these wet years, the threat is above 1%.
It's his message for the people from St. Louis all the way to Glasgow. If we wait too long to address the problem, it will be too late.
It would be a disaster of historic proportions.
Because of damage from earthquakes in the 1970s, the state of California required all hydraulic-filled dams be torn down or rebuilt, and no other large dams have been built that way since. Dr. Shanks says the Fort Peck Dam should be replaced. The cost would be immense, so I asked him what can people do. He said he knows it sounds trite, but contact your congressman. The cost of failure will be much, much, much greater. We've got much more information when you go to this story on KSDK.com.